I'd like to let you in on something. I have only ever preached one sermon at this church. Now, I've been in the pulpit hundreds of times. I've addressed groups big and small in this community and others, but I have only ever preached one sermon. Everything else has been a variation on that theme. It's a common idea among ministers that we all ever really only have one sermon and elaborate on that throughout most of our careers. My friend Julia's one sermon is that life is weirder, harder, and better than you think. I think she's right. My one sermon, the idea that has animated most of what I have done or tried to communicate in classes or in the pulpit, my one sermon is, I love you, you're perfect, now change. I got that title from a musical, but I think it speaks to the complexity of what it means to be a human being, to be religious, to seek the wonder and mystery and love of God and other, to be so moved by it. We can never be the same again. To me, that's the idea that's been underneath every time I've preached, every class I've taught, every time I've gathered in small groups or counseling. I love you, you're perfect, now change. For me, being a human being is a lot harder than we admit. In a progressive religious community, we spend a lot of time talking about how good and holy and wonderful human beings are, and we are. But if we don't recognize how hard it is to simply be a person, we miss so much about the grace and wonder and challenge of being alive. One of my favorite comedians, Pete Holmes, says that if you want to know something about the human condition, just reflect on the fact that you could probably walk up to any person, a stranger on the street, and whisper in their ear, "You coward." And they would wonder, how does he know? Being a human is challenging. The desire to be loved or to find the perfection in ourselves that animates the world is something so profound, because I know that, at least for me, I can move between being elated at myself or feeling broken within a single day. We as humans have lofty goals and often fall short. We can create beautiful art and music and societies and be terrible to each other. The writers of the Hebrew Scriptures knew this. Scientists and physicists know this. I've come back to the image of our bodies being formed by stardust so many times in my preaching and work, because to me, it is good theology. It's just a fact that every atom in your body except for hydrogen was formed in the belly of a dying star billions of years ago. That it took the life and death of a cosmic entity light years away to make the bones and blood in your body. Every single element except for hydrogen, forged in a dying star, traveling across galaxies, becoming you. Every atom in our bodies, every atom in this world has been recycled millions of times over. The building blocks of you have been other things. You've been mystics and poets and saints and sinners, dictators. You've been beautiful and violent, and you will again. The matter of your body and mine has been beautiful art and garbage, poetry and sadness, recycled over and over again. To me, it's amazing to look up as human beings and see the stars in the sky and recognize that they are often quite literally our ancestors. To be matter, aware of itself, we are magical and also simply made of dust, mystical and made of mud. The writers of the Hebrew Scriptures knew this when they talk about Adam and Eve. Adam is not a name. In the original Hebrew, the word Adama means dirt thing or dirt creature. almost like the word human means in English. And so, when you read those original passages in Genesis about these flailing, frail, faulty human beings who were trying their best, it's a story about dirt creature. Something that is formed in the story, taken out of the dirt itself and breathed life into by the creator of the universe, mystery and mud. The word Eve in the original Hebrew means life bearer. So just like us, dirt thing and life bearer have problems. They try their best and they do what they're told sometimes and not what they're told to do sometimes. They make mistakes, they break the rules. They experience pain and loneliness and shame. When they wake up, the first thing they do is cover themselves and go hide from God. And they try to work out their lives the best they can, dirt thing and life bearer. Mystery and mud. Stardust and dirt. Poetry and struggle. Each and every one of us. Of course we want to hear, I love you, you're perfect. It's the now change part that's a little harder. And so, for those of us who are made of mystery and mud, stardust and dirt all at the same time, people who are filled with the capacity for great beauty and wonder and struggle beyond words. I've watched in my life and experience and in my ministry to progressive communities that it's easy to turn to a few things to look for our ultimate value or salvation or ease, our identity, our comfort, our Savior, our God. And each of them has a trap built in. Particularly, I've watched progressive religious communities turn to intellect and being smart, to doing the right thing, or to be accepted just as we are by a group of people as the things that would save us and heal us. And all of them are good things. Being smart, using rationality, that's a good thing. Trying to do the right thing and build justice and be moral and do good works is a good thing. Being accepted just as we are and accepting others is a good thing. But all of them have a trap built in. If we think it's the one thing that will forever make us whole or healed. Being smart can only take us so far. Having classes, having a community that often prides itself on being intellectual or filled with people who have had good experiences or are well-read or have the best ideas, that can be a good thing. Except, knowing the answer does not fill you with awe and wonder. It's humility that saves us. It's humility that has more life on the other side. You never want to be the smartest person in the room. If you want to learn, if there's more life left for you and us, then it isn't knowing the answer that saves us, but humility. Plus, if you want to be the smartest person in the room or the most right on an issue, you have to keep chasing that over and over again. The goalposts keep moving. It's the same for good works. Call it justice making, call it being right on particular political or social issues, consuming the right things, being environmental enough, finding the right purchases and goods and communities, using our resources and actions in the most moral, decent way we can. That kind of active morality is a good thing, but it alone can't save us. If that's what we think makes us good and decent, it's kind of like trying to find the right sacrifice to put on the altar for an old God. I have to buy exactly the right things. I have to say exactly the right words to be worthy. I have to move in exactly the right communities. I have to engage in exactly the right justice work. And if we don't make it, something's wrong with us or me. Often those communities turn on themselves. And those in one group have to be writer and writer and writer and writer, and it's a small group of the chosen few who get to call the shots for everyone else. There's nothing wrong with trying to build a better world and do justice and use our words and our actions to create peace and meaning. But for creatures who are made of stardust and dirt, we're going to mess up. We're not always going to know what's right. We're in systems that are bigger than our control, and the world will sometimes, almost always, be beyond our ability to fix it. Trying to do the right things has the trap of feeling like getting the right sacrifice, and we have to keep doing it over and over again to have value. Even being accepted just as we are can have a trap in it too. I know for a lot of people, you've been a part of a community or a family, a church, or a society that told you there was something fundamentally wrong with you because of who you loved or the body you were in or the ideas you had or the questions you had. And it can be so meaningful to find a place where it feels like you are accepted just as you are. I hear those stories time and time again in the church. But if our ultimate value comes from externally giving that to other people's acceptance, we will be in for a hard time. If our ultimate value depends on a group of frail, imperfect, fragile human beings accepting us as who we are, we'll be in for a surprise because people are frail and imperfect and beautiful. I think one of the traps of wanting to be accepted just as we are is that once we are, it feels like we can't change. I'm so glad this community accepted me just as I was 12 years ago, but I also want to grow. It feels good to be accepted as you are, but will the same community and family and society and church want you to change and love you still? It's tricky. Being accepted and accepting is a lovely thing. But if we place our value in a group outside of ourselves, whether it's a family or a church or a job or a society saying we're valuable, then we're dependent on something that can change and maybe doesn't want us to grow or change. One of the things I love about the Christian and Jewish scriptures is that God's love does change people. It doesn't mean that God needs people to change in order to love them. There's that old universalist notion that God doesn't love you because you're clean, but God cleans you because God loves you, like a parent. But I read those scriptural stories that are funny and awful, that are imperfect and fragile, that speak to human beauty and goodness and violence and challenge. And I see a group of faulty human beings doing the best they can, trying to be in relationship with God and other, and being fundamentally changed by it. I love you, you're perfect. Now change. So many of the stories in the Bible include people who literally changed their name because of their encounter with God, or changed their very sense of identity. The best kind of conversion. You take somebody like Moses, who when God encounters him says, I cannot speak in front of a group of people or lead anyone. I stutter. No one listens to me. Please pick someone else. God's response is, no, you'll do. And you will do more than you ever thought you could. You'll lead a group of people to liberation, and they'll complain the entire way. The man Jacob in the Hebrew Scriptures meets God by a river and fights with God all night, wrestles with God, and when it's over is blessed by that very holy encounter, but has to change his name to Israel, which means one who wrestles with God. The struggle, the tension with the holy changes his name. Or Paul in the Bible, who starts off as Saul, someone persecuting the Christian community, who has an experience on Damascus Road that changes his life forever. He changes his name to Paul and becomes a leader in the early church, each of these individuals as flawed as could possibly be. And yet the idea is that if you encounter something truly holy, you won't want to stay the same. I love you. You're perfect. Now change. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be intelligent and have good ideas. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do the right things and build justice and be moral in our actions. And there's nothing wrong with desiring to be accepted and loved just as we are. None of those things alone can truly make us healed and whole, especially if we keep chasing after the experience over and over or believe that if anyone found out, we wouldn't be so smart or right or accepted. I've come back to these themes over and over in my preaching, most, I think, because it's challenging me to change. I look back over my time in this church and see ways that I've matured and grown. I'm not the same person that I was when I came to this place 12 years ago, and I am glad for that. I hope you're not the same person either. Maybe it's obvious, the themes that I've been carrying with me. Maybe my one sermon is apparent. But there's a few things that I have learned in my time that I've tried to challenge you and me to understand and grow with and change with that I want to leave you with today. The first is that life is incredibly beautiful and really hard. But learning to admit both is what gives us a full and meaningful life. Most people, in my experience, when you dig down, are really scared of something. Betrayal, of not living up to the values of their family or their church, of failing in life, of being found out of something, but most of us are scared of something. Because life is beautiful, really hard. You're made of stars and made of dirt. In that space is grace. It's absolutely necessary. And we have so much more to give ourselves and each other. Much more important than being right or being smart is to offer grace for people who, just like you, are beautiful and incredibly imperfect. The second theme that I find myself coming back to over and over again to grow and learn with is that this is all temporary. Your life, every person you've ever met, every person you've ever loved, every church or community or job or relationship will one day end. And therefore, it is so important to savor every moment of life, but not grasp too hard, or else we miss that sweet spot in the middle. The stakes are so high, in fact, that we should not take ourselves so seriously. It's so important that we should let go. This will one day end. So savor it while you can. But don't hold on too hard, or else you miss it too. And finally, the theme that I find myself coming back to time and again in my work here in this church and otherwise is be careful what you worship. Whatever you place on the pedestal of God in your life, be careful. Because it will change how you live and what you value and what you love and who you love and whether you love yourself or whether you meet God. Be careful what you believe will save you. Most things have a hidden trap in them. You are wonderful. You are made of mystery and mud, of stardust and dirt. If you fail and falter, if you have beautiful goals and don't always reach them, if you know that you have the capacity for mystery and wonder and beauty and love and challenge or violence or struggle, it just means you're a human being. And if you can find yourself holding on tightly to things that you love because you don't want to lose them, it means that you're a human being. But to love something that you will also lose, that's where the magic is. And to worship something truly worthy of the love and service of your life. To only treat things like God that will love you back, to put your trust in things that are trustworthy. And like Whitman said in the reading, to reevaluate and question everything you've ever been told in church or in school on a regular basis to see what is worthy. That's where you find it. Whatever you choose to worship, whatever God occupies the space in your heart, make sure it's something that loves you unconditionally and cannot leave you the same. Stasis, stagnation, status quo is not where it's at. It's wonderful to be loved just as you are. And even better, to be loved just as you are so fiercely that you will not stay the same. Over this time, it's been that one sermon, over and over again. I hope it's been a worthy one. You and me, made of stardust and dirt. You and me, temporary in these relationships and in this life. You and me, trying to find something to worship, a God that will love us so fiercely that we cannot stay the same. I wish that for you and more. I love you. You're perfect. Now change. Amen.